Hello, everyone, and welcome to this closing session of the 2022 Virtual Island Summit. It's been an amazing week. This is day 7. We've had events happening every day this week, and so this Sunday evening, my time, Monday morning for some of you, I'm delighted to be here to round off the summit and share a few of my highlights with you. I'll also be joined by my colleague, Stacey Alvarez, who will present a little bit about our hubs taking place around the world and the Ambassadors Program, followed by a very incredible performance from the Scottish Islands that will be coming off at the end. Do go ahead and let us know in the chat where you're joining from so we know who we have with us for this session. So this week we started with an opening speech from Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados that really set the tone for the whole week, I think. Prime Minister Mottley talked about the need for collaboration and the opportunities for islands like Barbados and others around the world to work together, highlighting the importance of financing for sustainable development for small island developing states. One of my favorite panels of the week was also the Indigenous Peoples panel. Thank you very much to Caroline Mayer-Toby and all of the speakers and people who brought that panel together. Was really incredible to see the people being represented there. But we've also had speakers joining us from across Africa, Asia, the Pacific, the Arctic. We went to Senegal, to the Casamance Islands, where we learned about processes there for climate change adaptation. We went to the Seychelles and learned about marine conservation. We went to the Pacific Islands and today, this morning, and learned about sustainable tourism, as well as the Shetland Isles to learn about renewable energy and many, many more. The topics covered range from circular economy to agriculture to tourism, with the central theme of the importance of island states to engage the government, the private sector, NGOs, civil society, and academia to collaborate. And really what we saw was a week of collaborations. I really enjoyed meeting some of you in the networking sessions. It was a great opportunity to meet face to face, but please do go ahead if you have any other highlights. You can share them in the chat as well. Would love to hear from you what you enjoyed. But yes, those networking sessions were a chance to interact with the other guests. I know that some of you have missed that. But these virtual sessions, that's how we have a mechanism, people to talk to each other. However, as much as I love these virtual events, and we will be continuing every year the Virtual Island Summit, it was also a delight to announce the fact that we will be next year holding our first in-person Island Innovation live event. And we're looking forward to already in great talks with some island partners about hosting the event there. We hope this will be a series of events taking place in person on different islands. So keep an eye out, and hopefully next year we'll get even more of you to come and meet in person wherever we are in the world. I'd now just like to take the opportunity for a few thank yous. So particularly for our sponsors of the week. We really depend on sponsors for events like this to be able to keep it free. And so thank you for the Wait Institute and Buzzmaker for being our gold sponsors. For our silver sponsors, the Edge Foundation, coming back year after year to talk about island education, the Stop Ecocide Foundation with the government of Vanuatu, which ran 2 really fantastic sessions about ecocide and the law, the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency in the Cayman Islands, thanks to the Premier for his address, and all of the team in Cayman for sharing their experiences with blue iguanas. I did not know about the blue iguanas until this week. Our brand sponsors, Our Energy, Le Village by Crédit Agricole, the Island Institute in Maine, Interreg, Channel Islands, and the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund. And to all of our media and nonprofit partners who joined sessions, wrote articles, and helped us collaborate to bring this event to even more people. So major thank you to all of those. And it was great to see in the media so many articles, local media in Barbados and other places covering this around the Caribbean, right up to CNN, featuring the work that Island Innovation is doing in 1 week. And it's great to see that level of interest now in bringing islands together and the outcomes of this summit. I want to remind everyone that, of course, we do have a library of content, so we will be making sure that the library is available to everyone who signed up during the week ahead. That will be searchable by topic and island, so you'll be able to find out more about everything that we've discussed, and also search back through our archive from previous events to use that as a resource for information on all the different topics. I'd now like to invite my colleague, Stacey Alvarez, to come and share a little bit about her work as our ambassador program coordinator, opportunities to get involved for next year, and all of the things the ambassadors have been doing this week. Over to you, Stacey.
Thanks so much, James. Yes, it's really been an incredible week. I'm so glad, all of you have managed to experience some of the sessions that we had, and to really see that collaboratively how well we can create change, and just the incredible sense of synergy and sense of positivity that comes from us all coming together, and in this virtual platform, but also in person, as James mentioned. There's going to be a focus on, as much as possible, how can we get together and collaborate. So as Ambassador Program Coordinator, it's my job to see how I can bring our ambassadors together. And Island Innovation Ambassadors, you can apply, and we're going to see a link should be placed in the chat that gives you the link to the website where you can apply. The whole point of the program is to look to connect and empower people from different islands around the world to see how we can represent our islands and represent not just the issues that our islands have, but how can we come together and find solutions to those issues. So create positive change and raise awareness about the issues that we face. So the Ambassador Program is geared towards giving you some critical skills and expert knowledge. We hold monthly workshops so that you can get together. We have guest speakers, and we talk about topics that range from financing, sustainable financing, that range to things to do with biodiversity and conservation. We look at how to be an impactful change maker. These are some of the ways that you learn not just how to collaborate, but how to make your message heard, and ways that you can actively create change. So as I said, we have these meetings, and the program itself is divided into 4 quarters. So the calendar year, it usually starts about February. So we have a 2023 waiting list. I would really encourage you to go on that waiting list, sign up for the Ambassador Program. So in the first quarter, we kind of focus on what our network is. Who are we as ambassadors, creating the connections amongst ourselves? Because it's quite often that as an ambassador, there's someone in your island or your region, and actually very often your island, who has the same concerns, the same interests that you do, and you don't even know that. So part of the Ambassador Program is creating the circumstances through which we can get together and know that we can collaborate and make all our voices heard. So we'll learn and share knowledge amongst each other through training sessions in that way. And then in the second quarter, the local events that we had this year, I'll talk about those a little bit. In the second quarter, we start to talk a little bit about what kind of local event would you like to host as part of the Virtual Island Summit. Now, as I'll mention later, these local events don't have to be that elaborate. They're actually very easy to put together, and it's amazing the levels of awareness that you can raise through having a local event and the reach you can have. We'll talk about if you want to plan some kind of campaign and gain visibility for the cause that you're focusing on in your island. That's what our second quarter will focus on. And the third quarter, which is around this time, is when you will participate in the Virtual Island Summit. You're automatically signed up for that summit for all of the sessions when you are an ambassador. And then this is when your hubs will gain the attention that you need them to have. So, and in that fourth quarter, you'll get more visibility, you'll share your work, and we'll talk about how to create content in a way that's useful and impactful as possible. So that's something about the program overall in general. Now, this year we had probably between 7 and 10 excellent local events. We had people who signed up and expressed their interest in having local events. And my job as ambassador coordinator was to try and see how could I facilitate that as much as possible How could I give advice and help? So we had, for example, our ambassadors in St. Lucia, they had a panel discussion about sustainable tourism, sustainability in tourism. They invited guest speakers. They had it at a particular venue, and they managed to garner sponsorship. And for something like that, we provide a letter of endorsement, just saying that you are indeed affiliated with us as an organization, and that we're certifying that you are ambassadors. So that was one of the bigger events. We also had a fantastic local event held in Guadalupe, and that focused on accelerator programs. So those are two of the events we had. We had another fantastic event in Tenerife. One of our ambassadors organized an event to do with students and young people, the youth, as being messengers of sustainability. Or other event, we had two events in the Maldives. One focused again on sustainable tourism. Another ambassador put together an event to do with raising awareness about the impacts of plastic pollution. And we had another one in Suriname where our ambassador, she organized a screening of one of the Virtual Island Summit events, one of the panel discussions in her workplace, kind of got some people together. They watched the screening and they had a discussion afterwards. We had a youth engagement local event in Anguilla. And we also had an event in Martha's Vineyard, which talked about island collaboration. So all of these events, we're really, really grateful and thankful to all of our ambassadors who took the time and took the effort to stage these events. And as I said, some of them were panel discussions. They ran the gamut from panel discussion to sponsored event to people organizing small screenings to even just a kind of an activity centered around a particular theme. And this activity was documented, and we got some reports and a lot of positive feedback. So those are just some of the ways that the ambassador program, I think, can enrich you in your quest to raise the profile of what sustainability means for us as island communities. So that's kind of what I'll say for now. Back to you, James. And please, as I said, please sign up to the wait list for next year. I would love to see you as one of our ambassadors. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stacey, for sharing that. It was really great to see the physical sessions that were happening in different places and all the pictures coming in, and we'll make sure to include all of that in the report coming out in the next few weeks. It was also really nice to see some of the comments in the chat. Lynn saying they'd love to do this work in Guyana, someone joining from Madeira, from California, people saying that they used these sessions this week as contribution towards a book, which is amazing. And people excited about the live event next year. So that's really good to hear. I also just want to say a special thank you to all of the Island Innovation team who put so much work in this week. So Jerome, Stacey, Audrey, Sarah, Thais, Christian, Linda, Nandeli, Alexandra, Nisa, Avia, Kata, Michelle, Simon, Saibu, and Vincent. Really appreciate everything that you've all done. There's a whole team working behind the scenes to bring this event together. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was acknowledged for the hard work over the last 6 months that went into this event. And we would really appreciate it if you can give us some feedback. We have shared the link in the chat, but it's really helpful for us to know what we do well, what you would like to see for next year, improvements you think we could make, and we would try and incorporate as many ideas as possible in the future. So please do just take a few minutes to do that now. I would appreciate it. And with that, I'm delighted to invite Bethany onto the stage. Bethany, we met while she was in her previous position as manager of the Climate Change in a Bottle project at the Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governments in Glasgow. Bethany's now a master's student in environmental policy, also in Glasgow, and hails from the Isle of Arran in the west of Scotland, but will be bringing us tunes from across Scotland and the diaspora, which I'm really looking forward to. Bethany, thank you so much for taking the time on a Sunday to be here. It was great to meet you last year at the COP26 conference in Glasgow, and so almost a year ago. Difficult to believe. We'll hand over to you now to take it away. Thanks again.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction, James. As James was saying, I was able to collaborate with Island Innovation last year as manager of the Climate Change Message in a Bottle project, which was based at Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance, and kind of brought voices from young islanders around Scotland and around the world to COP26. So that was really exciting. And as James said, I'm from the Isle of Arran. I play the fiddle, so I play Scottish traditional music. I'm going to play some tunes from Arran and also from further afield. But I'll start us off locally. So the first tune I'm going to play today is called Goat Fell, and that's the name of the highest mountain on Arran where I grew up. And after that, I'm going to play a couple of tunes called All About Windmills and The Volcanic Jig. So here we go. I can't hear you, but feel free to tap your foot along. Cool. So that last tune was one from Cape Breton, where I recently returned from a few weeks ago. I was over there playing some music and traveling around. I went to Prince Edward Island as well. It's really interesting to see how the kind of Scottish traditional music has sort of stayed as a tradition over in that part of the world. But for the next tune, I'm going to keep it in Scotland, but we're going to go a little bit further north to the Orkney Islands. And I know that James did his master's in Island Studies, which is based at the University of the Highlands and Islands campus up in Orkney. And it was great to hear from a lot of people doing important work in the kind of ferry industry and in the energy industries up in Orkney. So it's some really interesting initiatives to do with energy and climate going on up there. So this tune's called Sonia's Reel. And after that, I'm going to go into another one, which is called The Jaybird. And this is one that I picked up when I was on my year abroad in Montreal. So it's a little Canadian tune. So here we go. Thank you for all the lovely comments in there. It's really nice to see. I think I saw one from someone who's actually been up the hill on Arran called Goat Fell. That was the first tune I played. I'll continue on now with some tunes all from the island of Cape Breton in eastern Canada. I got the first one from an amazing fiddle player from there called Mary Rankin. And this is a strathspey, so it's a kind of tune that's from the northeast of Scotland. And it's a very important part of the Scottish fiddling tradition and kind of was taken over to Cape Breton following the Highland clearances in Scotland. I'm going to follow that with another couple of reels. And it was really great to be able to get over to Cape Breton this year and kind of play tunes with people over there. And just also interesting to see all the Gaelic culture that's still alive and well, like it is here in Scotland too. This tune's called Bog and Lochan, followed by Ranny McClellan and the Kyle Bragg Rambler. So I'm going to finish us off now with a few tunes back home from the Isle of Arran, which is where I was born and raised on the west coast of Scotland. Just want to say a massive thanks to Island Innovation, to James and Stacey and the rest of the team for having me along today. It's been really nice, and it's so nice to see people from all around the world joining us. I really enjoyed some of the events this week, especially as I was saying, the one talking about ferry issues, because that's a big issue on the Isle of Arran where I live. There's a very rapidly aging fleet of ferries, which provides the lifeline service to and from the mainland, and that's been giving us plenty of issues over the last year. So it's great to hear kind of about what everyone else is doing who are in similar positions. I'm going to finish off with Miss Mary Anderson of Lochranza. Lochranza is a village right in the north end of the Isle of Arran, followed by another strathspey called Corrigills and a reel called the Arran Cayley. And for those of you who don't know, a Cayley is like a traditional gathering in Scotland where people get together and play music and have a dance and tell stories and things. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. This is the last set of tunes that I'll play for you this evening. Here we go. Thank you so much for having me along, and thank you very much to Island Innovation. Great to see everyone here together building solidarity amongst the islands. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bethany. That was really amazing. I know it must be a little strange to be playing to an empty screen on your own on your laptop, but I can assure you, looking at the chat and seeing everyone's comments, there were all of us around the world tapping our legs and clapping our hands at home. The next generation of virtual Kaylee, I guess. Well, with that, we will wrap up. A reminder again, please, please, please do check out the feedback form and send us your feedback. We would really appreciate that. And if you sent us any inquiries, we'll be trying to get to them as soon as possible. As you can imagine, we've had a lot of communications this week, but we really appreciate all of the kind words, ideas, and input. Thanks so much for all of our attendees, all of the speakers, all of the team, and the sponsors and everyone else who has brought this event together, especially all of our ambassadors around the world. And once again, thank you, Bethany, for that amazing performance. I loved having a little travel around the world to different islands across Canada and Scotland. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everyone, and the week ahead. And we hope to see you next year at the Virtual Island Summit. Bye-bye. Thank you.